Part 32. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 311. Son. Su Yang showed a smile and asked, "Don't you know the origin of our Su family?" "I know, my mother said that the Su family is just a small family in Jiangbei. It doesn't have much heritage. It's just 2 generations with some meritorious deeds. In the world of ancient martial arts, it's nothing," Su Zing said matter-of-factly. "Wrong." Su Yang said seriously, "The invincible strongman Su Wuji you call is your ancestor, and our Su family is the Su family in Kunlun, who once aspired to the world. Kunlun Su family." When Su Zing heard this, he was stunned, opened his mouth wide, and didn't speak for a long time. But from his expression, we can see that he is excited, proud, excited. "Okay, just stay here." Su Yang smiled, and then recovered his mind. His storage ring was made from the blood-devouring beads he took from Country D's military advisor when he rescued his sister. The material of the blood-devouring beads contains the power of space. Therefore, this storage ring is no different from the real world and can store living things. At the same time, Su Yang has absolute dominance over the space inside the storage ring. He easily divided the space into 2 parts, leaving one half for Shifen and one for Su Zing. After all, Shifen was at a critical juncture for promotion, so Su Zing would not disturb Shifen. Therefore, although they were both in the storage ring, Shifen didn't know about Su Zing's existence. Likewise, Su Zing couldn't sense Shifen. After settling down Su Zing, Xiaoting happened to appear in front of Su Yang with 49 blood slaughter members. "Meet the master! Meet the master!" Xiaoting first knelt down on one knee and cupped his fists with both hands. Immediately afterwards, the 49 blood slaughter members shouted in unison, with overwhelming power. Su Yang looked around the audience and said seriously, "I asked you to come here. Xiaoting must have told you why. I won't say anything unnecessary. When you get to southern Xinjiang, if you encounter enemies, just kill them for me. The more people you kill, the more blood your body will absorb, and the higher your strength will increase." Su Yang added, "Although you will have endless power, you will feel pain when the enemy's sword hits your body. The only thing you have to overcome is to grit your teeth and endure the pain. Perseverance is the key to practicing Qingming's physical skills. Can you do it?" Su Yang asked. "Able. Able. Able." The 49 members of the Blood Massacre and Xiaoting spoke in unison with determined eyes. "Good." Su Yang said calmly, "Come with me and let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yang led Xiaoting and the Blood 2 members out of the Su family manor to meet Zhao Tian's. Su Yang did not put these 50 people into the storage ring. Because there is no need, they will show up on the battlefield anyway, and sooner or later they will meet Zhao Tian's. At this moment, outside the Su family manor, Zhao Tian's received another call. He deployed 5 lines of defense outside Nanjiang City. The call just now was from his subordinate reporting to him that the first line of defense had fallen. When Zhao Tian's was extremely anxious, he saw Su Yang leading a group of people and walking out uniformly. "Young Master Su, who are these people?" Zhao Tian's frowned. "They are my men. This time I go to southern Xinjiang, and I want to take them with me. Farewell." There is no real energy fluctuation in these people, they are obviously ordinary people. Watching Zhao Tian's go away, Su Yang showed a smile, then dialed Lu Hui's phone and asked, "Lu Hui, can you get a large plane that can accommodate more than 50 people?" Zhao Tian's looked at the members of the Blood Massacre and looked down on Su Yang even more. Zhao Tian's glanced at Su Yang and thought that Su Yang had given up, so he fooled himself and wanted him to leave first, and then found an excuse to prevaricate, so that he would not have to go to the battlefield in southern Xinjiang. Half an hour later, Lu Hui and Wang Sai appeared in the sky above the Su family manor in a helicopter. "Never mind. Thinking of this, Zhao Tian said, "Okay, young Master Su, I'll take a step first, and we'll see you on the battlefield in southern Xinjiang. There are many resources in the Jimen black market, so airplanes can certainly handle it." Then, upon hearing this, Zhao Tian suddenly showed a sneer. "Southern Xinjiang battlefield, here I come." Hearing this, Su Yang smiled softly and said, "Tian's god of war, this is what I think. You can go to southern Xinjiang by yourself first. I have a way to take them with me." Subordinates. "Certainly. Country D, you have seriously injured my sister before and sent people to kill me many times. This time, it's time to put an end to it. Tian's god of war, I know what you are thinking, haha, let's wait and see. On the battlefield, what's the use?" Su Yang smiled softly and said, "My father and grandfather have already agreed. They are here to protect me. A tiger father produces a dog son." Young Master Su was used to being idle and greedy for pleasure, and he was indeed not worthy of being reused. The pattern of the battlefield in southern Xinjiang will definitely undergo earth-shaking changes because of Su Yang's arrival. However, with current technology, large helicopters can only carry more than 30 people. Su Yang sneered, and then led many members of the blood slaughter to embark on a journey to southern Xinjiang. Zhao Tian clasped his fists and said goodbye, sighing in his heart that Su Shui's son was not worthy of his status as the general's queen, and then disappeared into the night. Although he felt unhappy, Su Yang was Su Shui's son after all. He promised Su Shui, but he still had to have an attitude, so he said, "I also want them to follow you to protect you, but this time I only transferred a new model. Fighters can only take you to southern Xinjiang by yourself. As for them..." Two helicopters soared into the sky, cutting through the clouds and flying through the night sky. Young Master Su. He is indeed a super playboy. He went to the battlefield with so many bodyguards, how afraid of death he was. Do you have any idea? Tonight is destined to be restless. He just said politely and concluded that Su Yang was going to be a deserter and would never appear on the battlefield in southern Xinjiang. "Well, Tian's god of war, farewell." Su Yang smiled softly. "It's a good thing that he doesn't follow me to the battlefield. At least I don't have to take care of him." Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 312. As soon as Zhao Tian's left, Su Yang led the blood slaughter members to follow closely behind. Before leaving, Su Yang had already told Zhang Zhongyao to be careful and to protect his father and grandfather. Not long after Su Yang left, the Su family manor. Today, there are still some ordinary servants in the Su family manor, who can take care of the food and daily life of Su Shenbing and Su Qincan. Coupled with Zhang Zhongai's background in Yaoang Palace, the Su family manor can be said to be foolproof. At this moment, underground secret room. Su Qincan and Su Shenbing met Zhang Zhongaiu, and the three of them were chatting. "Dr. Zhang, I forgot to ask, was my brother Xiantian injured when he helped the Su family resolve a crisis last time and killed Duan Xiai and two others?" At this time, Su Qincan asked with concern. Zhang Zhongaiu stroked his beard and smiled softly, "Haha, it's just a small injury. The master of the palace has recovered. Brother Su, don't worry. That's good." Su Qincan breathed a sigh of relief, and felt a little proud of this call from Brother Su. Zhang Zhongaiu, the master of Kyoto, is famous and has a very high status in the ancient martial arts world. Such a person actually calls himself a brother, and he thinks highly of himself. But Su Qincan knew full well that this was all because of his wise brother. If it weren't for Su Xiantian, Zhang Zhongaiu wouldn't be so polite to him. "Brother Zhang." Su Qincan also took advantage of the situation and changed his address to Zhang Zhongaiu, and said with a warm smile, "My dear brother Xiantian, are you busy these days? The palace master usually doesn't ask about the affairs of Yaoang Palace." My junior Zhang Ruomu is in charge of it, so he is not very busy, Zhang Zhongyao said with a smile. Haha, my good brother has such profound strength at such a young age. He must have spent all his time practicing and has no time to take care of the affairs of the Medicine King Palace. It's understandable. After the trick was almost over, Sukyankin went straight to the point and said, Brother Zhang, my grandson Su Yang followed Tian's god of war to the southern battlefield tonight. Do you know about this? Zhang Zhongyao nodded and said, Of course I know. I got the order from the palace master and have been guarding the manor these past few days. I saw young Master Su leaving the Su family with my own eyes. Young Master Su is passionate and loyal to the country. He is really a role model for the youth of China. Brother Su, I am proud of you. Zhang Zhongyao patted Su Yang's ass. By the way. No, he is an ancient warrior in the realm of strength, he is just making soy sauce. Sukyankin sighed, and then said, Hey, you said this kid usually misses high-end clubs and indulges in luxury every night, but unexpectedly he has a patriotic heart. After learning that the situation in southern Xinjiang was critical tonight, he actually offered to go to the battlefield, which really surprised me. Sukyankin continued, but I knew how much he weighed and the battlefield was full of dangers, so I earnestly advised him not to go. But he said that every man is responsible for the rise and fall of a country and must leave. Sukyankin sighed again, I have no choice but to agree. I don't know if he can come back alive when we reach the border this time. As a grandfather, I am worried. It would be nice if there were a few masters at the peak of the master level to protect him. Speaking of this, Sukyankin glanced at Zhang Zhongyao without any trace, and continued, Unfortunately, the secret guards of our Su family are of low level and cannot be reused. When Zhang Zhongyao heard this, a smile appeared on his face. How could he not know Sukyankin's thoughts after living for so many years? But this matter is of great importance. Yao Ongdian has never participated in national wars, so he did not answer the question. Brother Zhang. Seeing that Zhang Zhongyao was avoiding talking, Sukyankin did not give up. For the sake of the war in southern Xinjiang, he shamelessly took the initiative and said, I wonder if you can ask my dear brother to send some masters at the peak of the Grand Master realm to protect Su Yang. Brother Su, you don't know something. Since ancient times, the ancient martial arts community has not participated in national wars. This is a rule. Zhang Zhongyao wondered, besides, ancient warriors above the Grand Master cannot take action. Only a few masters at the peak of the Grand Master level will not have much effect in front of a huge sea of people. I see. Sukyankin nodded and said, but I am just the grandson of Su Yang, and I really don't want to see anything happen to him. Brother Zhang, do you think this is okay? Just send the masters over to protect Su Yang. Sukyankin suggested, if the situation of the war changes, let those masters escort Su Yang to retreat. What do you think? This. Zhang Zhongyao finally figured out that Sukyankin was worried about his grandson's safety. But Su Yang is the palace master. The strength of the palace master can kill the late Tianzong, which is terrifying. On the battlefield in southern Xinjiang, who can hurt him? However, these words could not be told to Sukyankin. In order to appease Sukyankin, Zhang Zhongyao smiled and said, Brother Su, don't be anxious first. I'll ask the palace master what he means. If the palace master agrees, I will ask Zhang Ruomu to send dozens of people grandmasters, head to southern Xinjiang immediately. Good. Sukyankin was overjoyed and hurriedly urged, then please leave it to Brother Zhang. Without further ado, please contact my wise brother as soon as possible. Well, the signal in the underground secret room is not very good. I'll go out and call the palace master. Zhang Zhongyao smiled, then walked out of the underground secret room and briefly communicated with Su Yang. Tell my grandpa that the palace master has agreed and will send 50 peak masters to southern Xinjiang so that he doesn't have to worry, Su Yang said and hung up the phone. Subsequently, Zhang Hongyao returned to the underground secret room and conveyed Su Yang's intentions to Su Qianqian and his son. Ha ha ha. Su Shenbing was ecstatic and said excitedly, among the 50 masters at the peak, I, Uncle Xiantian, am the most powerful. Brother Xiantian, you are not kind to me. I have taken advantage of you this time. I will make up for it if I have the chance. Su Qianqian felt a little guilty, and at the same time showed a smile that showed success. Stable. 50 masters at their peak rushed to southern Xinjiang. This battle in southern Xinjiang was stable. At this moment, Huanan, Zhefeng Mountain. Qian Shangxiu settled the affairs of Jimin early and returned to his place of residence. She knew that her daughter had been feeling depressed these days because she missed her late father, so she wanted to spend more time with her daughter. But who knows, as soon as I got home, I saw my daughter watching Peppa Pig, giggling while watching. Something's wrong. Ever since Su Yang's death, Yu hasn't smiled like this for a long time. She's been depressed all day long. How come she suddenly? Qian Shangxiu had a bad suspicion and thought to herself, that's bad. Could it be that Yu is overly sad and has a mental problem? Thinking of this, Qian Shangxiu slowly walked into Su Yu, then tried hard to smile, and asked cautiously, Yu, are you okay? Hey, Mom, you're back. Su Yu smiled happily, what can happen to me? I'm fine. Abnormal. Yu is so abnormal, is it really? Qian Shangxiu was suddenly very nervous, her voice was choked, and she quickly comforted, Yu, I know you are sad that Su Yang died, but don't pretend to be strong, just cry if you want to, release your emotions, don't scare Mom. Haha. Unexpectedly, Su Yu smiled even happier and said, Mom, you are wrong. In fact, Dad is not dead at all. He is alive and well. I even talked to him on the phone today. Buzz. Hearing this, Qian Shangxiu's expression suddenly froze, and a look of surprise gradually appeared in his eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 313. Su Yang, isn't dead? Did you even call Yo-Yo? But this was impossible. Su Yang was so seriously injured that he was bound to die. Long. Qian Shangxiu reacted and couldn't help but ask, really or not, you had a phone call with Su Yang? Yeah. Su Yu smiled and said, I heard it right, it was Dad's voice. He said he would pick us up and take us to Jiangbei after he finished what he was doing. Dad also said that when the time comes, our family will never be separated. Su Yu continued, by the way, Mom, Suzink is with Dad now. Also, Dad asked you to call him back. Hearing this, Qian Shangxiu became extremely excited and her breathing became unsteady. Yu said it in a meaningful way, and the other party asked her to call her back, so she was not afraid to communicate with her. From this point of view, Su Yang is really not dead. At this moment, Qian Shangxiu cried with joy, and the corners of his eyes were slightly moist. Actually, her feelings for Su Yang are very deep. Although Qian Shangxiu had a purpose in approaching Su Yang in the first place, those few years were when her love affair first blossomed. After spending so much time together day and night, Su Yang was already irreplaceable in Qian Shangxiu's heart. After Su Yang died, she cried many times, but she couldn't cry in front of her daughter, lest her daughter would be even more sad. Now knowing that Su Yang is still alive, Qian Shangxiu has mixed feelings, and tears naturally flow out. Mom, give me your cell phone. Call Dad quickly at this time, Su Yu smiled. I won't fight. After a while, Qian Shangxiu's mood stabilized, and he immediately said, if I want to fight, he will hit me. I won't take the initiative to fight. Mom, are you shy? Su Yu chuckled. Children don't have to worry about adults' business. Qian Shangxiu glanced at Yu, then took the phone over. Okay, Yu, relax your eyes and stop watching TV. All right. Su Yu curled her lips, and then said expectantly, Mom, Dad has something to do and can't pick us up, so can we go to Jiangbei? Su Xing is already with his father, and he must be very happy. His father will pamper him, love him, and take him to the amusement park. Yu also wants to live with his father. Su Yu's eyes were full of longing, completely unaware of Su Xing's current miserable situation. No. Qian Shangxiu refused. Jufeng Mountain is our home. You are not allowed to go anywhere. Have you forgotten what I told you? As for Xing, I will inform your great-grandfather and ask your great-grandfather to bring him back. All right. Su Yu is very sensible and compromises with Qian Shangxiu again. She seems to know something. She and her father are not from the same world. However, Su Yu's eyes were full of unhappiness. Why? Qian Shangxiu sighed, then looked up into the distance and said secretly, Su Yang, I know what Yu is thinking. She wants to have a complete family. But the current situation does not allow it. Unless you can become the strongest person in the ancient martial arts world, there will be many people who will prevent us from reuniting. Su Yang, with the name of Su Xiantian, you have made such a big splash. You are destined to be extraordinary in this life. Maybe you can grow to that point. I believe you have this ability. Come on, I will wait for you, no matter how long it takes, I will wait for you. Time flies and the stars change. Unconsciously, it was already late at night, the night sky was gloomy, and darkness enveloped the earth. Around 1 o'clock in the morning. Since Zhao Tian's was flying in a special fighter plane that could fly much faster than an ordinary helicopter, he arrived first. When someone comes, please inform Prince Ping immediately. Country D has a big plot. Let him prepare in advance. Swear to protect southern border to the death. Swear to protect southern border to the death. War, God of War, Country D is coming with a fierce force this time. Not only has it gathered 500,000 soldiers, but a rough estimate, there are also 500 masters at the peak of the master level. They are overwhelming on the battlefield, and our soldiers have no power to fight back. On the southern battlefield, above the city gate. The God of War's guess is correct. Some of those masters are not from Country D. It's possible. The peak of 500 masters. The spy was trembling. He said sadly, the 5 masters of the third line of defense were besieged and killed as soon as they showed up. 60,000 soldiers also suffered heavy casualties. Only a few soldiers escaped. If we lead our troops to evacuate, it will be equivalent to opening the door to China. By then, not only will tens of millions of people face a life and death crisis, but the surrounding provinces of China will also fall. Countless soldiers shouted in unison. Everyone's eyes were full of determination, and no one flinched. Zhao Tian's eyes showed a fierce look and he said coldly, as for us, we must not retreat. We must give them time to escape. Zhao Tian's was shocked, grabbed the secret agent's clothes, and asked, the third line of defense has 60,000 of our soldiers and 5 masters at the top. It has only been 10 minutes, how can it completely collapse? This is the last line of defense in southern Xinjiang. If the city is lost, southern Xinjiang will be completely lost. In addition, quickly evacuate tens of millions of people in southern Xinjiang to avoid falling into the hands of Country D. No, Country D is just a small place. I have been fighting with them for many years. I cannot allow so many peak masters to suddenly appear. There must be something weird among them. The secret agent guessed, we have received information that Country D has been in close contact with the 3 northern countries recently. Will it borrow troops from the 3 northern countries? Zhao Tian's was horrified and said in disbelief, "Is country D crazy? What is the intention of using all the strength of the country to attack southern Xinjiang? My officers and men, we have been raising troops for 1,000 days and using them for a while. Today, we will defend the southern border to the death." Zhao Tian's raised his arms and shouted. What he has to do now is to delay time and let Prince Ping mobilize elite soldiers and experts to deal with the menacing country D. He knew clearly that southern Xinjiang would inevitably fall today and all the sacrifices would be in vain. Zhao Tian sighed secretly, feeling particularly helpless. What? Zhao Tian's face was solemn and he said in a deep voice, "If the Earth Sect masters do not participate in the battle, the 500 masters are at their peak and almost invincible. Now it is too late to send troops here. I am afraid that the southern border is in danger." At this time, a soldier in light clothing rushed over, knelt on one knee, clasped his fists with both hands and said, "God of war, the second line of defense has been lost. We have suffered heavy casualties. Soldiers from country D are marching towards this place. If nothing else happens, the troops will arrive at the city within half an hour at most. Swear to protect southern border to the death." At this moment, behind Nanjiang city are tens of thousands of Chinese people. Once they fall, the consequences will be disastrous. Just 10 minutes ago, spies came to report that the third line of defense had fallen, and hundreds of thousands of Tiger and Wolf troops from country D were attacking the second line of defense. But his eyes were full of worry, and his face was particularly solemn. Report. Zhao Tian's raised his head, looked at the night sky, and murmured to himself, "I hope that the mountains and rivers of our country will be safe and sound." At this moment. But futility does not mean meaningless. Zhao Tian's was already wearing a helmet and armor, and his tall and straight figure stood on the city gate with a majestic appearance. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 314. In the following time, Zhao Tian sent people to disperse the people and prepare troops for the upcoming bloody battle. At the same time, on the way to the third line of defense and the second line of defense, the 400,000 to 500,000 strong army marched forward in an orderly manner, with a menacing momentum that stirred up wind and dust all over the sky. Among the army, there were 500 people wearing black cloaks scattered around. They are all masters at the pinnacle of master level. Not only that. In this team, there are many early stage, mid stage, and late stage grandmasters. There are about 2,000 grandmasters alone. At this moment, in the middle of the marching army, there was a carriage, which was particularly impressive and was carried by more than a dozen soldiers. In the car, a white-haired old man sat cross-legged with his eyes slightly closed, showing his age. But the next moment, the old man opened his eyes, and a flash of light suddenly shot out from his eyes, which seemed to be able to penetrate everything, making people feel heart-stopping. He is Duan Mulu, the most powerful man in country D, a legend in country D. He is about the same age as Zhang Honghua, and he has dominated country D for more than 100 years. Duan Muliu's status in country D is the same as Suwaji's status in the ancient martial arts world more than 100 years ago. He is above everyone and is so powerful that no one dares to disobey him. As for his true realm, no one knows. Because, for more than 100 years, Duan Mulu has never taken action and has been practicing in seclusion. But more than 100 years ago, he could raise his hand to suppress the peak of Tianzong, and his combat power was unparalleled. Now, more than 100 years have passed, and many people think Duan Mulu is dead. However, a few days ago, he suddenly made a comeback, and the whole D country was overjoyed. Immediately afterwards, the senile Duan Mulu regained control of the military power of country D, and quickly summoned 500 masters at the peak of the Grand Master realm and 2,000 ordinary Grand Masters from the 3 northern countries, intending to fight to the death with the Hua Kingdom. Southern Xinjiang is just a springboard. The Chinese civilization that has been inherited for 5,000 years will eventually be trampled under my feet. Duan Mulu murmured to himself, his voice slightly hoarse, but his tone was full of undoubted meaning. Ancestor. At this time, a middle-aged man next to Chechu asked, "What exactly is China? Why do you never forget China and want to conquer this country as soon as you leave the country?" He. Duan Mu showed a trace of yearning and smiled softly. "There is the secret of immortality." Immortal? The middle-aged man looked puzzled. Duan Mulu nodded and said, "It's okay to tell you. China is a mysterious country. As early as ancient times, there was a group of powerful people who mastered the means of immortality. At that time, they made a statement, which basically said that the air we breathe contains a toxin that is undetectable and cannot be stripped away. Zhenqi also has an antioxidant effect, but the effect is minimal. An ancient warrior who has reached my level has Zhenqi in his body like a sea, and it cannot replace oxygen. He must breathe oxygen, otherwise he will suffocate. It is also because of him that I convened 5 counties and 19 countries to implement the Earth Sect Prohibition Order, prohibiting the Earth Sect and ancient warriors above the Earth Sect from participating in national wars. I see. You are already the head of a country, and the Duanmu family relies on you to inherit. I can tell you. At this point, Duanmu Liu's face was full of envy and he murmured, "I conquered China because I want to find the secret of eternal life." The air is poisonous. The middle-aged man became even more curious, hearing this comment for the first time. He. Therefore, human lifespan is limited, and normal lifespan will never exceed 130 years. Duan Muliu's eyes flashed and he said sternly, "The time left for me is running out. I must get the training methods of the ancient chi refiners. They found a way to develop a special energy in the body called Reiki. The prohibition order of Dizong is actually an excuse to prevent him from intervening in the national war." Duan Mulu nodded lightly and added, "Now that technology has developed, I guess the chronic toxin in their mouths is oxygen. Human beings cannot do without oxygen and rely on oxygen to survive. But similarly, the body will be oxidized, so humans will slowly aging until death." Duan Mulu continued, "But I can control the number of breaths and try to reduce the frequency of breathing. Usually, ancient warriors at my level can live for 300 years, which is not as good as the ancient chi refiners who have just started." After a pause for a few seconds, Duan Mushu suddenly asked in confusion, "Ancestor, I heard from my grandpa that back then you were unimpeded and invincible on the battlefield. Who hurt you? His name?" Duan Mushu nodded as if he understood. Today's conversation with his ancestor seemed to have opened the door to a new world for himself. It's just that this method is very complicated and requires talent. Many people spend their whole lives just getting started. However, the spiritual energy in the body of a chi practitioner at this level is not pure and large enough to live forever. Because I feel that no one in the world is his opponent. He can destroy 5 counties and 19 countries by himself. The middle-aged man next to him is a descendant of Duan Mulu, Duan Mushu. He is also the leader of Country D and has a transcendent status. Duan Mulu said, "Reiki can replace part of the air. Pure and huge spiritual energy can even completely replace the oxygen in the air, thereby achieving eternal life." However, in ancient China, that group of people were called ancient chi refiners. He was so terrifying. He just looked at me and didn't take any action. I knelt down on the ground uncontrollably and was seriously injured. I have not fully recovered yet. Chi practitioners who have achieved some success usually have a lifespan of more than 1,000 years. There are also many people who have achieved immortality because their bodies have been completely transformed into spiritual energy. Although more than 100 years have passed, every time I think of him and the scene at that time, I still have trouble sleeping and eating, and my heart is filled with fear. At this time, Duan Muishu was a little worried. Ancestor, since there are immortals in China, they must still be alive now. Will they allow us to capture China? Duan Muliu's eyes were full of fear and he murmured, "My name is, Su, Wu, Ji. During the last national war, I was severely injured. I have been in seclusion for more than 100 years, and my strength has never been exhausted. Now the end is approaching." Duan Mulu continued, "Although they cannot live forever, because they breathe less oxygen, the rate of oxidation of the body is reduced, and the lifespan is greatly increased. It is easy to live 500 to 600 years old." Duan Mulu smiled and said, "That group of people disappeared more than 2000 years ago. They all disappeared mysteriously. No one knows the reason." Duan Mulu continued, "The ancient martial arts system evolved from Qi training. What we cultivate is not spiritual Qi, but true Qi." Duan Muliu's eyes were cloudy and he continued, "Humans must breathe air if they want to survive. This is an endless cycle. Because of him, after more than 100 years of national war, our country was defeated and took the initiative to surrender. In today's China, there are no ancient Qi practitioners. Just like our cultivation system, it is all ancient martial arts." Duan Mulu looked at Duan Muishu, then fell into memories and murmured, "The person who hurt me was a man who looked to be only about 30 years old. Urban Super Dude." Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 315. Su Shenbing once told Su Yang that Su Wuji appeared once after the Kunlun Su family was destroyed. That time, Su Qincan was seriously injured on the battlefield. The so-called Su family's survival was also entangled by the most powerful masters of country D. It was Su Wuji who showed up and saved Su Qincan. And the most powerful master of country D is Duan Mulu. At first, Duan Mulu already wanted to get involved in the Hua Kingdom, so he mobilized his troops and generals to take the Hua Kingdom directly, but he encountered desperate resistance from the Hua Kingdom. Although the ancient martial arts sect of China is not involved in national wars, country D is only a small country after all, so progress is slow. That battle lasted for several years, and both countries suffered losses. In the end, Duan Mulu personally took action and prepared to annex the world. At that time, Duan Mulu's strength had already surpassed that of Tianzong, and he thought he was invincible in the world. But who would have expected that when he arrived on the battlefield, he would meet an old woman who could be his equal? The strong man who survived the Kunlun Su family. But he didn't take it seriously, thinking that he had a good chance of winning, but then something unexpected happened. A man suddenly appeared on the battlefield. His aura was so powerful that he could frighten an army of millions. Even he himself, under that man's power, would prostrate himself on the ground, not daring to cross the line in the slightest. Simply, the man looked a little confused and had injuries on his body. He did not go on a killing spree. He came and left just as fast. Duan Mulu saved his life and quickly issued orders to withdraw his troops urgently. From then on, he no longer dared to attack Huaguo, and even proposed a prohibition order against Dizong. Later, after several investigations, Duan Mulu finally found out the identity of that person, Su Wuzi of the Kunlun Su family. After learning about Su Wuzi in detail, Duan Mulu was extremely shocked that one person could be so powerful. Naturally, he thought of a possibility, that is, Su Wuji had mastered the ancient Qi training method. Although Duan Mulu was coveting that method, he didn't dare to act rashly because Su Wuzi was too strong. He was so strong that he didn't even dare to breathe when facing Su Wuzi. Therefore, Duan Mulu began to practice in seclusion, which lasted for more than 100 years. Today, his life is about to end, and he has no choice but to leave the country, hoping to find ways to extend his life. After learning that there had been no Su Wuzi in the world for more than 100 years, Duan Mulu set his sights on the Hua Kingdom again. Su Wuji. Duan Muishu, who was next to him, was unfamiliar with this name and asked doubtfully, Ancestor, is this person still alive? Will he take action again to stop us? Not sure. Duanmulu shook his head, and then said, but a few days ago, when I just woke up, I found a mysterious message. Back then, all the ancient chi refiners disappeared mysteriously, which may have a lot to do with the laws between heaven and earth. Duanmulu continued, during the more than 100 years since I was in seclusion, Country D has unearthed some ancient books from thousands of years ago. There is a sentence recorded on them, which allowed me to make some general judgments about Suwazi's whereabouts. What are you talking about? Duanmyoshu was very curious. Duanmyoshu smiled bitterly and said, Ancestor, what you said is too illusory. Can anyone really leave the earth? This. As the leader of the country, Duanmyoshu often took the lead and had many confrontations with Zhaotians. In addition, in the past 100 years or so, there is no news about Suwaji in the world. Either he has already set foot on that ancient road, or he has been suppressed by heaven and earth. Duanmulu confidently smiled and said, besides, with my strength, if I fight to the death, I will definitely be able to take away the heritage of one of the three major forces. No one among the three major forces wants to be the first. Duanmulu sighed, no one can explain the origin of human civilization. It is unclear. At this time, Zhaotian stood on the city tower, looking at the menacing enemy troops in the distance, his face extremely solemn. Tap tap tap. Duanmulu continued, in other words, Qi practitioners cannot be too strong. If they are too strong, they will be suppressed by the laws of heaven and earth. As for the ancient martial arts sects of China, although the three major forces have the foundation to fight with me, from ancient times to the present, they will not participate in national wars. Duanmyoshu smiled wildly and said, as you can see, we are fully prepared this time, with 500 peak masters, 2,000 ordinary masters, and 500,000 elite soldiers and generals. All of a sudden, an army of 400,000 to 500,000 people was running forward, their speed more than doubled, and they were all uniform and without any mess. They were obviously soldiers who had been on the battlefield for a long time. The time I saw him on the battlefield, he was unconscious. His body was covered with scars, and some of his flesh had been burnt. He must have been uncomfortable. If they want to survive, they have only one way, which is to leave this world through a mysterious ancient road. If they stay forcibly, they will be killed by heaven and earth. There is no third possibility. Technology can do this, let alone Qi practitioners who have been around for countless years. About 10 minutes later, an army of 40 or 50 troops arrived at the gates of Nanjiang City. Then, Duanmulu said firmly, but no matter what, this person does not pose a threat to us. Back then, the Kunlun Su family was destroyed by the ancient martial arts sect of China, and no one was left alive. With such deep hatred, Suwaji didn't even show up. He must be dealing with the laws of heaven and earth and has no time to separate himself. Duanmulu said seriously, Duanmyoshu, speed up the march. I will annex southern Xinjiang within half an hour. It is recorded in ancient books that this world does not allow Qi practitioners to reach a certain realm. Once a Qi practitioner steps into a forbidden realm, he will be rejected by the world. Ha ha. Duanmulu looked at the night sky and murmured to himself, if nothing unexpected happens, that Suwaji should have already embarked on the mysterious ancient road. Duanmyoshu respectfully agreed, and then ordered the signal soldiers around him to blow the horn for emergency march. However, he had never fought such a wealthy battle before, and he was excited just thinking about it. With his ancestors in charge, Duanmyoshu felt confident. Zhaotians. Duanmyoshu, you are dreaming, Zhaotians said in a deep voice, naturally recognizing the leader of Country D. At a glance, it is boundless and mighty. Yes. I believe that the things recorded in the ancient books I have seen are true. Ha ha, the world is so big and full of wonders. Does it count as illusory if we leave the Earth? Duan Mulu smiled softly and said, have you forgotten that with the advanced technology now, humans have long been able to land on the moon, and even established a space station in the boundless starry sky? At this moment, Duan Mushu stood up and shouted loudly, Southern Xinjiang is already in the possession of our D country. I advise you to open the city gate and surrender, so as not to become a dead soul under my sword. What is supposed to come will finally come. You are a small southern frontier with few soldiers and generals. How can you compete with me? Surrender is your only way out. Stop struggling in vain. Our country, D, will definitely win this battle. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 316. Snort. Zhao Tian snorted coldly, and then said in a deep voice, 1 inch of mountains and rivers, 1 inch of blood, 100,000 young people and 100,000 soldiers, the mountains and rivers of the motherland, will not give up an inch of land. Duan Mushu, if you get involved in the country of China, even if we are defeated, I will knock out your mouth full of dog teeth. Zhao Tian raised his arms and shouted, all officers and men obey the order and defend the southern city. Yes. 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 All the Chinese soldiers in Nanjiang City, approximately hundreds of thousands, were shouting in unison at this moment. The people are united in their will, and everyone's face shows a touch of determination, and they look forward to death. Stubborn. Seeing this, Duan Mushu waved his hand and issued an order, start the war, in 10 minutes, flatten the southern city. All the defenders will be wiped out, leaving no one behind. Kill. 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 The soldiers of Country D were arrogant and immediately began to attack the city with ferocity. For a time, the shouts of killing were deafening, corpses were everywhere, and the fighting was tragic. At first, Zhao Tian closed the city gate tightly, used defense as a fence, and used the convenience of the city gate to block the incoming troops from Country D. But slowly, the enemy troops came more and more, and they were about to break through the city gate. Therefore, Zhao Tian ordered all Chinese soldiers to go out of the city to fight. As for Zhao Tian, because he is in the realm of the Earth sect, he can only sit back and boost the morale of the army, and cannot go into battle personally. In this way, a fierce battle broke out between the two sides, with countless casualties and corpses everywhere. The soldiers led by Zhao Tian have been on the battlefield for a long time, are familiar with the terrain, and are ready to work. Therefore, at the beginning, the Chinese soldiers had the upper hand. Even when facing enemy troops several times higher than themselves, they remained unafraid and displayed the Chinese style. But a few minutes later, the 500 peak masters and the 2,000 ordinary masters took action. The situation of the battle immediately changed dramatically, and they almost crushed the Chinese soldiers with an overwhelming advantage. This turned into a one-sided massacre, which was too horrible to watch. Zhao Tian's eyes were red, but there was nothing he could do. He only asked Prince Ping to prepare early. If he could send troops to respond, that would be the best. At the same time, the prince's residence. Prince Ping Long Suxing has received the news from Zhao Tian and is frowning in thought. The messenger next to him knelt on one knee respectfully, waiting for Long Suxing's decision. Send the order, all troops in the provinces around southern Xinjiang will retreat, conserve their strength, and wait for my instructions again finally. Long Suxing said. Your Majesty. The messenger was stunned for a moment, and said with red eyes, but doesn't this mean that we are handing over southern Xinjiang to Country D? Country D is coming this time with great force. It must be well prepared and has big plans. Long Suxing said in a deep voice, at this moment, it is not appropriate to confront them head-on. Preserving strength is the most important thing. Besides, southern Xinjiang is a barren land, especially barren, so we have to give in. If there is no resistance, the army of country D will march straight in, and the people in the surrounding provinces will not even have time to take refuge. The people will definitely be in dire straits. The messenger gritted his teeth and said, moreover, there are hundreds of thousands of our soldiers in southern Xinjiang. If we don't send people to respond, I'm afraid the whole army will be annihilated. My lord, please think twice. Shut up. Long Suxing said in a deep voice, I have made up my mind. How can I allow you to point fingers? If you say one more thing, I will be served by military law immediately. Go ahead, follow what I said and order the surrounding defenders to retreat quickly without any mistakes. Yes. Seeing that Prince Ping could not be persuaded, the messenger had no choice but to clasp his fists in agreement, turned around and left the study. Your Majesty, the heroine god of war wishes to see you. As soon as the messenger left, a guard said. Here comes the heroine. Long Suxing showed a smile, and then said, invite her in. Yes. The guard responded respectfully, and then heard him say from outside, heroine god of war, please come inside. Immediately afterwards, Su Jingguo, dressed in military uniform, strode into the study, knelt down on one knee, cupped her fists and said, my subordinate, Su Jingguo, has met Prince Ping. Woman, why are you so polite? Get up quickly. Didn't I tell you that you don't have to bow when you see me? Long Suxing smiled softly, and then went to help Su Jingguo up. Su Jingguo stood up first, not giving him this chance, and took a step back to keep a distance from Prince Ping. Women. Long Suxing didn't feel embarrassed. He looked at Su Jingguo with eyes full of admiration and said softly, I know you like to eat vegetarian food, so I ordered a vegetarian banquet at Tianyun Tower. You must have it tonight. Enjoy the glory. Your Majesty. However, Su Jingguo said with a serious face, now that the war in southern Xinjiang is urgent, how can I have the heart to have a meal? I would like to ask the prince to allocate me 100,000 elite troops, and I will immediately go to southern Xinjiang to reinforce Tian's war god. My dear, country D's arrival is strange this time. Don't act out of anger, otherwise it will only increase casualties. Long Suxing smiled and said, besides, people are like iron, rice or steel. What can you do if you don't eat? Let's go, I will dine with you. Prince Ping. Su Jingguo's face changed and she said coldly, there are tens of millions of people and hundreds of thousands of soldiers in southern Xinjiang. They are now in danger. Please forgive me for not being able to accompany you. If you don't send troops to me, then I will go to southern Xinjiang alone. Even if I die in southern Xinjiang, I will be willing to do so. Confused. Long Suxing said sternly, Goddess of War, you are my king's general. Whatever I ask you to do, you can do it. I will not send troops to reinforce southern Xinjiang, and you can't go either. Your Majesty, it's useless to talk anymore. I'll take my leave. Su Jingguo didn't buy it. After saying goodbye, she left the study. Snored. Audacity. Long Suxing said coldly, here comes someone. Exist. Several guards suddenly pushed the door open and all knelt down on one knee. The heroine god of war disobeyed the commander-in-chief's orders, captured her, and forced her into the sky prison to wait for her punishment, Long Suxing said in a deep voice. Yes. After receiving the order, the two guards stepped forward to control Su Jingguo. How can the guards of the prince's mansion be ordinary people? Su Jingguo struggled for a few times, but to no avail, so she gritted her teeth and said, let me go, Prince Ping, you are abandoning millions of people and are not worthy of being the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Pull it down. Long Suxing didn't want to hear Su Jingguo talk about his crimes, so he raised his hand and urged. The two guards escorted Su Jingguo out of the study. Woman, Don't blame me, I'm protecting you. Watching Sujingguo being taken away, Long Suxing murmured to himself, but a meaningful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. At this moment, southern Xinjiang battlefield. Due to the large number of D-country masters and masters, it only took a few minutes for the Chinese soldiers to be forced under the city gate. There were originally hundreds of thousands of soldiers, but now there are only 70,000 or 80,000 left, with no way to retreat. Zhao Tian stood on the tower, his eyes full of helplessness. He never expected that D would dispatch so many masters. He. Vulnerable. Duan Muishu sneered again and again, then waved his hand and said, "Send my order and the whole army will attack. Kill." The morale of hundreds of thousands of soldiers from Country D was greatly boosted, and they charged in with great momentum. But at this moment, Su Yang led the blood slaughter members and rushed to the battlefield. Take action. Su Yang saw the corpse marks everywhere at the scene and the heavy casualties among the D-country soldiers, so he ordered, "Show no mercy." Yes. After receiving Su Yang's order, Xiao Ting and the 49 members of the Blood Massacre, like tigers descending from the mountain, immediately rushed into the D-country army, unstoppable. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 317. The 49 members of the Blood Massacre are several times stronger than before because of their practice of Qingming's physical training techniques. Everyone has bulging muscles on their bodies, looking extremely strong, like a moving hill, punching to the flesh, running unimpeded on the battlefield, like a killing machine. Although they have no true energy in their bodies, they can crush the masters with pure physical strength. Xiao Ting, in particular, was extremely powerful and physically strong. Even at the peak of the Earth sect, his heart palpitated when facing his fists. Although Xiao Ting's combat power exceeded the level of a Grand Master and could even crush the Earth sect. But there is no real energy fluctuation around him, or even any special energy. He relies solely on strength, so it does not violate the Earth sect's prohibition order. These 50 people killed hundreds of soldiers from Country D in just half a minute. Moreover, those soldiers all died in a miserable state, with bloody flesh, and some were even turned into pulp by fists. No, enemy attack. What a terrifying force, who are they? Although there are not many people, they are so scary. Among the army, many D-country soldiers reacted and turned around to attack the blood slaughter members. But their attacks fell on the members of the blood slaughter, just like scratching an itch, not even leaving any scars, which frightened them. However, the members of the Blood Massacre did not stop and continued to attack. One punch could kill a D-country soldier. On average, 50 more D-country soldier corpses would appear on the ground in 1 second. The blood of D-country soldiers spurts out and falls on the members of the Blood Massacre. It turns into a bloody mist and quickly sinks into the bodies of the Blood Massacre members. It becomes the source of power for the Blood Massacre members and can temper their bodies to make them stronger. What can't be cut in? Armor, they must have armor made with special technology. That's not right. These people are wearing uniform casual clothes. Some are even shirtless and have no armor at all. With such a strong body and terrifying power, retreat quickly and ask the masters to come and punish you. Duan Muishu had been observing all directions and had already discovered the members of the blood slaughter, with a sharp look in his eyes. Are you training your physical body horizontally? Haha, they are just some ancient warriors who have practiced the golden bell shield. They are nothing to be afraid of. Duan Muishu looked carefully for a few times, then showed a disdainful smile and ordered, "Deal with these people first, and then flatten Nanjiang city." "As you command." The 30 or 40 masters who were at the peak of the master level around them heard Duan Muishu's order, and without any hesitation, they immediately jumped into the air and charged towards the rear at the same time. Whoosh! 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 The bodies of these ancient warriors at the pinnacle level of their masters were like sharp arrows, flying rapidly through the air. In the blink of an eye, they had a fierce collision with the members of the blood slaughter. They didn't hold anything back, they used their killing moves, and the true energy surged in their bodies. Boom! 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 But they were still vulnerable to the blood slaughter members just like ordinary soldiers. A member of the blood slaughter can kill a master at the peak of his master's level with just 3 punches. Even in order to expand their profits, several peak masters were directly beaten into blood mist, which fell on the bodies of the blood slaughter members and was absorbed by them. Buzz. This scene instantly calmed everyone present, and the army of hundreds of thousands immediately became restless. The peak grandmaster was beaten to death by 3 punches. Dizone, these people have at least set foot in Dizone. Hua has violated the prohibition of Dizone and will definitely be condemned by the 5 counties and 19 countries. That's not right. There is no true energy fluctuation in their bodies, and they did not use true energy when they attacked. They are not ancient warriors. Haha, they are not ancient warriors, so how can they be masters of the Earth sect? They are the secret guards of the Su family. But Duan Muishu couldn't help but ask, then why are their bodies so strong and invulnerable? Kill. Everyone, take a look at the video, you will get a free gift. If you get 20 reminders, you will get an extra update, and you will do what you say. This is impossible. Duan Muishu also discovered a clue, frowned and said, they are so strong, and they have no true energy in their bodies. Weird. There was another round of impact, and there were more and more corpses of D-country soldiers on the ground, and they soon piled up like a mountain. These people can easily defeat the peak masters, at least the masters of the Earth section. Duan Muishu requested, Ancestor, the Hua Kingdom has violated the prohibition order. Please take action and kill them. I don't know the details, but they must not be ancient warriors. Duan Muilu shook his head. Kill. P.S. I took my son to play today, so I updated a little late, but fortunately, I delivered all 3 chapters. In order to keep the 800 yuan and keep attendance, I tried my best. Duan Muishu was stunned for a moment, and then he said no more. He just ordered 2,000 ordinary masters and more than 400 peak masters to take action together. Ancestor. What? So weird. Now is not the time to think about this. No matter what, they have won a breathing space for the soldiers in southern Xinjiang. This simply goes beyond Zhao Tian's understanding of the world. The Chinese soldiers who survived the scene couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and cast curious eyes on the battlefield, wanting to see who saved them. At this time, Zhao Tian's, who was on the city tower, recognized the members of the Blood Massacre and Su Yang in the crowd, and was immediately shocked. Aren't all the secret guards of the Su family ordinary people? There is no trace of true energy in their bodies, so how can they do it? Zhao Tianzi felt a little embarrassed, but then he was full of curiosity and stared at the battlefield in the distance, wanting to see how strong these Su family secret guards were. It's very simple. Kill. The members of the Blood Massacre did not stop for a second. Su Yang ordered them to kill everyone without mercy. What they have to do now is to carry out the master's order. Now, they already knew how powerful the blood slaughter members were, so they didn't take it lightly. Everyone used their special skills. Country D's more than 400,000 soldiers all stopped attacking Nanjiang City. Instead, they stopped and watched. I used to suspect that young Master Su was greedy for life and fearful of death, and did not dare to come to the battlefield in southern Xinjiang. But now, the secret guards of the Su family led by him have resolved the crisis. I am so ashamed. At this time, Duan Muilu, who was on the carriage, slowly said, because what they practice is not the golden bell. Duan Muilu smiled and said, keep reading. I really want to know how many people they can kill. The golden bell shield uses true energy to protect the body and resist harm. Why don't they have true energy fluctuations in their bodies? Duan Muishu said in shock. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 318. On the battlefield. Xiaoting and the 49 members of the Blood Slaughter were fighting bloody battles. Their movements were not slow at all, and every punch was full of power. These 50 people became more and more courageous as they fought, and they seemed to have endless power in their bodies. In addition, their bodies were invulnerable and extremely strong, and ordinary soldiers could not harm them despite all their efforts. Members of the Blood Slaughter, on the battlefield, everyone is like a dragon, with 50 killing machines, never-ending harvesting of lives. In just a few minutes, countless D-country soldiers died, and their blood stained the ground red and spread for dozens of meters. More than 2,000 masters and masters, in front of the members of the Blood Massacre, were like chickens and dogs. But, after all, they are martial arts masters with strong qi in their bodies. Even if they try their best, they can still hurt the members of the Blood Slaughter. Soon, the 49 members of the Blood Slaughter were covered in scars, and some parts were even bloody. They must have been in great pain. But the members of the Blood Massacre completely ignored these pains, or were numb, gritted their teeth, and continued their actions. Boom! 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 Punch after punch, the members of Blood Slaughter continued to kill the masters at the cost of injury. At the same time, they used Qingming's physical training skills, and every time they killed a Grandmaster, they absorbed their blood to nourish their bodies and strengthen themselves. Therefore, the 49 members of the Blood Massacre became more and more courageous as they fought, killing the enemies on the scene, who were frightened and kept retreating. The essence and blood of a master contains true energy. Although true energy is not as powerful as spiritual energy, it is still a good energy, and the effect of nourishing the physical body is much better than that of ordinary soldiers. It is roughly estimated that one Grand Master has more energy and blood than hundreds or thousands of ordinary soldiers. How could the 49 Blood Slaughter members let go of such good food, and they all took advantage of the victory to pursue it? Tonight is the first battle to become a bloody massacre. There is also competition between them, of course it is a healthy competition. Everyone wants to express themselves in front of their master, so they compete to kill ordinary masters. Before I knew it, half an hour passed. More than 2,000 ordinary Grand Masters were almost wiped out. Only a few dozen were left. They were so frightened that they peed and blended into the crowd and fled in panic. Haha, the warriors trained by Qingming's physical training are simply the nemesis of this kind of battlefield. Su Yang stood behind, with a smile on his face, and continued, these members of the Blood Massacre are tireless, powerful, and physically indestructible. As long as they are given enough time, not to mention hundreds of thousands of troops, even millions, tens of millions, they can still kill them without leaving any trace behind. Besides, Su Yang smiled and said, after this battle, the strength of the members of the Blood Massacre will definitely be greatly improved. They can at least reach the level where Xiaoting is now, comparable to the peak of the Earth sect, or even kill the peak of the Earth section. 49 strong men who can kill the pinnacle of the Earth sect were obtained without any effort. After all, I have to thank these soldiers from country D, ha ha ha. Su Yang was slightly proud. Today, the Su family has many enemies. Among the three major forces in the ancient martial arts world, the old poisonous one in the depths of the clouds is a sworn enemy who will never stop fighting and must avenge the martyrs of the Su family. As for the place of Zen, this relationship is more complicated, so I won't mention it for now, but Su Yang must go there to bring his mother back. In addition, there is the Ximen family who now lives in Kunlun. This family occupied Kunlun, and their methods were even more brutal back then. Sooner or later, Su Yang will lead people to destroy them, blood for blood, tooth for tooth. So, Su Yangke passed on Qingming's physical training skills and Fulong's combined attack skills to the Su family's secret guards in an attempt to train the Su family's secret guards into super masters. At that time, Su Yang will lead the Blood Slaughter members to level the depths of the clouds and mists, break into the land of Zen, destroy the Ximen family, and shake the entire ancient martial arts world. But there are a total of 49 members of the Blood Slaughter, and it is not an easy task to gain their overall strength. If the body is tempered through medicinal materials, with the purity of the earth's medicinal materials, a lot of manpower, material resources, and time will probably be wasted. But now, just through one war, the members of the Blood Slaughter can compete with each other at the top of the earth section. This is simply a great thing. These more than 400 peak masters are very smart. No one wants to die, so we let more than 2,000 ordinary masters consume the energy of the Blood Slaughter members, and prepare to wait until the Blood Slaughter members are exhausted before attacking. It's a pity that they made the wrong decision. The characteristic of Blood Slaughter members is that they become braver as they fight and never get tired. Su Yang smiled softly, and then moved his eyes away from the Grand Master Peak. At the same time, he looked at the luxury car among the thousands of troops from the air. His brows suddenly wrinkled, and an unprecedented sense of crisis swept through his body. Chechulai. There is a person who is so strong. Su Yang instantly became more vigilant, his eyes full of vigilance, and he stared at Chechu. He didn't notice it before, but he realized it now. After reaching the 9th level of Qi training, Su Yang's perception ability was several times stronger than before. No master of Zhang's Hongai's level could escape his perception. But Su Yang didn't notice the person in the car at first. Even at this moment, he still didn't judge the person's strength. He just felt a powerful gaze looking at him. There is no doubt that a master of ancient martial arts who can reach this level must be terrifying and extraordinary, and his strength will definitely exceed Zhang's Hongaiu. Now we're in trouble. Su Yang's face was heavy, but he had no choice but to stand there and watch what happened. With Su Yang's current strength and the ability to reach the end of the world, if he escapes, there should be a glimmer of hope. But Su Yang didn't want to give up on Xiaoting and the 49 Blood Slaughter members, so he didn't run away immediately to see what that person was planning and why he allowed the Blood Slaughter members to kill their masters. Certainly. If the people in the car attack him, Su Yang will leave without hesitation. After all, saving his life is the most important thing. Let's take a look first. After making up his mind, Su Yang pretended not to notice Duan Mulu and kept his body motionless. As for Duan Mulu, he was sitting in the carriage, staring at Su Yang from a distance, with a smile on his lips. This young man is not simple. Duan Mulu smiled softly and said, there is obviously no real energy fluctuation in the body, but he is elegant and graceful. He is not like a person who has no power to restrain a chicken. In addition, those dozens of strange warriors were all brought here by him and obeyed his orders. Duan Mulu murmured, interesting, interesting. I have been in seclusion for more than 100 years. I didn't expect that China would produce such a young talent. Those invulnerable warriors are also extremely weird. They seem to be able to absorb blood essence and strengthen their bodies. It's unpredictable. Duan Mulu moved his eyes away from Su Yang and looked at the members of the Blood Slaughter who were killing everyone. He couldn't help but smile and said, I really want to see how far they can fight and how much they can kill how many people. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 319. Ancestor. Duan Mushu, who was next to him, was anxious and said quickly, those guys are too weird. Our ordinary masters are about to be killed by them. Please take action. No hurries. Duan Mulu said calmly, I proposed the prohibition order of the Earth sect on my own initiative. Although we intend to destroy this place this time, with my strength, the 5 counties and 19 countries dare not complain at all, but the rules are the rules. Duanmulu said seriously, I always abide by the rules. I will not take action unless it is absolutely necessary. If the ordinary Grand Master dies, then let those peak masters take action. These bullies are greedy for life and afraid of death. They are playing tricks on others. They didn't take action with the ordinary Grand Masters before. What's the use of keeping them? Duanmulu sneered and said, besides, I summoned them from the 5 counties and 19 countries this time. I had no intention of letting them go back. Duanmyushu, do you understand this? Duanmyushu paused, suddenly realized, and said with admiration, I understand, this is to use strength to fight, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, our ancestors were wise. Now, most of the teams led by Country D belong to the 5 counties and 19 countries. Especially ordinary Grandmasters and Peak Grandmasters are almost all summoned from various countries. Duanmulu wanted to use them to attack China and annex it while reducing the power of the 5 counties and 19 countries. Not to mention the appearance of the blood slaughter members, even if they didn't come, these masters would not be able to return to their respective countries alive. Although doing this would offend the 5 counties and 19 countries, Duanmulu was so powerful that he was naturally not afraid of this. He concluded that those countries would not dare to cause trouble to Country D. The most important thing is that as a result, there will be a gap among the masters from various countries. After all, most of the master-level experts are in this team. This kind of fault will cause the 5 counties and 19 countries to have no new masters of the Earth sect for a long time in the future, and there will also be very few people who will advance to the Heaven sect. Although there is a ban on the Earth sect on the battlefield, there is no such order outside the battlefield. Whether a country is strong or not depends on the person who surpasses the master. Duanmulu did this to pave the way for future generations and to make Country D extremely powerful in the next few decades. Therefore, Duanmulu didn't care when the members of the Blood Massacre killed the soldiers on the scene. Even if they massacred the master, he would not care. At this time, on top of the city tower, more than 2,000 grandmasters, all dead. Zhao Tian's witnessed the battle below with his own eyes. He was stunned and couldn't believe this scene. It is simply unbelievable that the secret guards of the Su family have accomplished such a feat. I didn't expect young Master Su to have such a guard. It's so shocking. Zhao Tian's looked at Su Yang from afar, cast a grateful look at Su Yang, and murmured, although young Master Su is a waste with no knowledge or skills, this time he saved Nanjiang, in the world, I want to report him and reward him for his merits. With this in his mind, Zhao Tian's walked down the tower and used a special communication method to get past Prince Ping and contact the Emperor of Kyoto. At the same time, below the city tower, more than 400 ancient warriors at the peak of their master realm slowly approached the 49 members of the blood slaughter, gradually narrowing the encirclement. I have been observing for a long time. These weirdos are not invulnerable. They can also be injured. With our power, we can definitely hurt them. Don't be afraid. Yes, but be careful not to confront them head-on. They are surprisingly powerful. If we all attack together and consume their strength, we will definitely be able to capture them all. More than 400 peak masters made an agreement, and almost at the same time, they swarmed up. The 49 members of the blood slaughter were unable to withstand the siege of so many powerful masters. Puff! 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 Several members of the blood massacre were beaten and their blood was scattered in the sky. Although they were outmatched, they could choose to avoid the vital points, so the injuries were not fatal. After simple handling, they continued to fight with hundreds of peak masters. In this way, the 49 members of the blood massacre exchanged their own injuries for the lives of their opponents. As long as they kill their opponents, they will be nourished by blood and their injuries will be restored. After such a cycle, there were more than 400 peak masters, and soon only 300 were left. The vitality is so tenacious. Yes, we divide into several groups and attack one person at the same time and cut off his neck. I don't believe they are still alive. Then, Xiaoting shouted in a low voice, Switu obeys the order and forms an array. Kyoto. In an instant, the team composed of these peak masters was directly dispersed. At the same time, dragons roam the world, and I am the only one who dominates. Behind the throne, 9 golden dragon sculptures spread their teeth and claws, threatening to devour the world. A middle-aged man with a serious face sat on the throne, calm and powerful. Now is the right time. Above the majestic palace, it is resplendent with gold and green, and the 4 thick pillars are like giant stones holding up the sky, carved with dragons and painted phoenixes. At the highest place in the hall, there is a throne that all those who pursue fame and wealth in the world long to sit on. The remaining 300 top masters had vaguely figured out how to deal with the blood slaughter members, and they struck without mercy. Everyone, please don't mess up. Concentrate your efforts and kill them one by one. Don't scatter. For a moment, the scene was filled with screams, and the master at his peak was like a chicken, letting the members of the blood slaughter him. But at this time, Xiaoting, who had been watching the battle, took action. Xiaoting's strength can already crush the peak of the Earth sect, so he can easily ravage these masters. This person is the pinnacle of power, the common master of the world, commanding thousands of miles of rivers and mountains, hundreds of millions of people, looking down on all the people in the world. However, he knew that the master's intention was not to simply improve his own strength, but to improve the strength of the entire blood massacre. Now that he saw that the lives of the members of the blood massacre were in danger, he directly took action to resolve it. Fulong combined attack technique. The 49 members of the blood slaughter will act like one person, bursting out with hundreds of times more power. Weird ones, really weird ones. As long as they are not killed directly, if they absorb the blood, their injuries will recover and their strength will increase a little. It's so weird. Yes. He is, Long, Xing. Tian. Jinluan Hall. So. Xiaoting didn't take action, he just gave instructions from the side, but the strength that the blood slaughter members broke out was enough to crush 300 peak masters. Now. Following Xiaoting's loud shout, the 49 blood slaughter members used a strange formation to kill the 300 masters at their peak. Kill. After hearing Xiaoting's order, the 49 members of the blood slaughter immediately found their positions according to the memory in their minds. In an instant, the formation of the Fulong combination attack technique was formed. Xiaoting did not participate in the killing spree before, but just stood by and guarded silently. They came to the battlefield in southern Xinjiang this time not only to strengthen their physical bodies, but also to become familiar with the Dragon Fulong combination attack technique. Forbidden City. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 320. Above the main hall is the Emperor Long Xin Tian. Under the main hall, there were nearly 100 people from the civil and military dynasties, all of whom were powerful figures in the world. The person standing in the front on the left is the emperor's younger brother, Prince Ping Long Suxing. The person standing in the front on the right is an old man who is over 60 years old and the current Prime Minister Lu Zhonglian. After the war broke out in southern Xinjiang today, Long Suxing, the head of the military attaché, and Lu Zhonglian, the head of the civil service, summoned all civil and military officials and hurriedly came to the main hall to meet the saint and discuss countermeasures together. Country D has always been at odds with us in the 2 southeastern borders, and wars often occur. Emperor Long Xin Tian frowned and said, "This time, why did they suddenly attack in large numbers? Could it be that they really had a plan?" "Your Majesty, The top priority is to send troops to reinforce southern Xinjiang. Is it possible that southern Xinjiang must be surrendered? Lu Zhonglian, the head of the civil service, stood up and said impassionedly, every inch of land in the country was obtained by countless sons and daughters who sacrificed their lives and blood. For this, we must not give up an inch of land. The Prime Minister's words are wrong. However, Long Suksing took a step forward and denied it directly. Country D is approaching fiercely. It is like breaking bamboo all the way. The fall of southern Xinjiang is inevitable. Even if reinforcements are sent, it will not help. Instead of doing this, it is better to conserve our troops, accumulate strength, and then look for opportunities to fight Country D to the death. Long Suksing suggested, my younger brother suggests that we let Country D enter the pass, divide it into divisions, and then use the heavenly furnace strategy to annihilate them all. Royal Lord. Lu Zhonglian heard this and said anxiously, absolutely not. This is like luring a wolf into the house, and there will be endless troubles. If Country D uses southern Xinjiang as a springboard to continuously send troops into the country and erode our land, how can our country resist it? Lu Zhonglian said worriedly, not to mention whether the heavenly furnace strategy is effective. Even if it is effective, it is not possible. After all, the entry of Country D will cause the lives of hundreds of millions of people. Even if Country D is destroyed, what will happen? Can the people who died in vain due to the war come back to life? Lu Zhonglian asked for orders for the people and said, I hope the emperor can consider the people's livelihood, reject the enemy outside southern Xinjiang, and fight to the death with Country D. The Prime Minister is really ignorant. Long Suksing sneered, and then said in a deep voice, according to the information I got, Country D dispatched an army of 500,000 people this time, more than 2,000 ordinary grandmasters, and 500 peak grandmasters. Buzz. As soon as these words came out, a storm immediately set off on the scene, and all the civil and military officials were shocked. Obviously they knew what it meant to have more than 2,000 ordinary grandmasters and 500 peak grandmasters themselves. With the strength of the whole country, we can deal with one or two, but to resist the enemy outside the southern border city is tantamount to wishful thinking. Long Suksing continued, besides, it will take at least 2 days to gather the masters and soldiers scattered all over the place. As for southern Xinjiang, it is destined to fall tonight, and there is simply no time. Besides, Prime Minister, do you know who is leading the army in Country D this time? Long Suksing asked coldly. Lu Zhonglian met Long Suksing's gaze and responded in a neither humble nor arrogant manner, who does it matter, who can influence the situation of the battle? Can. But Long Suksing nodded and said seriously, because that person was once the invincible myth of Country D, Duan Mu Lu. What, Duan Mu Lu? Isn't Duan Mu Lu dead? He died more than 100 years ago. He is the invincible god of war in modern times. He is famous for his fierceness on the battlefield, but after so many years, there is no way he is still alive. Most of the civil and military officials knew Duan Mu Liu's name. Brother, take your orders. Having said that, are we going to ignore thousands of people and see them displaced and starved of food? The Aoki manager next to him shouted, Xian. Prime Minister Lu Zhonglian sighed. He was extremely disappointed with this, but it could not change the emperor's decision, so he said, Emperor, I am in ill health and have to retire first. Long Xintian continued, a secret agent has come to report that most of the D country soldiers in southern Xinjiang are not from D country, but were recruited by Duan Mu Lu from the 5 counties and 19 countries. What my brother said is reasonable. There is no need to take risks. Southern Xinjiang can no longer be defended. At the same time, we will send an order to summon all the experts in our country to prepare to jointly deal with the D country soldiers who have entered the customs. As soon as these words came out, the civil and military officials in the hall were excited, and everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Why? As mentioned above, Duanmulu is the invincible god of war in modern times and has left a mark in modern history. At this time, the Emperor Long Xingtian said, in the early years, Duanmulu was already over 100 years old when he was fighting on the battlefield. Now more than 100 years have passed. I never thought that this person still exists in the world. As a result, country D's own military strength is still dormant. Prince Ping has taken good care of it and should not act rashly, Long Xingtian said calmly. If you think about it carefully, this massive attack by country D must have been facilitated by Duanmulu. Long Xingtian nodded and did not try to persuade Lu Zhonglian to stay. Urgent information? Could it be that southern Xinjiang has fallen? A few seconds later, a liaison officer in his 30s knelt on the ground and saluted excitedly. Impossible. But at this moment, a loud voice suddenly came from outside. Prince Ping directly denied it and said seriously, the king knows very well how many kilograms of Zhao Tian's troops there are. How could he kill more than 2,000 masters? This villain is the wartime information liaison officer of Tian's god of war. I have urgent information and I hereby request to see the emperor. This is unnecessary and only increases the risk, Prince Ping Long Suxing said. Long Xingtian frowned, and then said, let him come in. Even if Zhao Tian violates the prohibition order of the Earth sect and takes action himself, he cannot be the opponent of more than 2,000 grandmasters. Those are 2,000 grandmasters. Even if he exhausts his true energy, he still can't do it. So far, country D has not even taken a step into southern Xinjiang, and its army of more than 400,000 has been kept out of the city gate. What Prince Ping said is true. Duanmulu is indeed still alive. My spies in country D came with the news yesterday. Therefore, everyone became uneasy when they heard Duanmulu's name. Emperor Long Xingtian did not let him get up, but asked, what urgent information? Tell me quickly. As you command. This is also normal. The liaison officer did not dare to raise his head and said in an excited tone, Your Majesty, the war in southern Xinjiang has been a great victory. More than 2,000 masters and masters of country D have been killed and injured. Emperor Long Xingtian looked at Prince Ping, full of trust, and continued, You are responsible for this battle. I hope your Tianlu tactics can show off your power. People of the present generation have all heard of Duanmulu's achievements and know his glory. Long Suxing knelt on the ground with an extremely respectful expression and an imperceptible smile in his eyes. Lu Zhon continued, Your Majesty, even if you save your troops, you can still send people to southern Xinjiang to escort the people to retreat. As long as you don't fight head-on with country D.